We'll call this meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I invite you to join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Kolpak.
Here.
Pepcorn.
Here.
Preston.
Here.
Strand.
Here.
Mahoney.
Here. Health. December 1st is the 35th commemoration of the World's AIDS Day, and this year's theme is World's AIDS Day 35, Remember and Commit, and pays tribute to those who were lost to HIV and AIDS. The Clinic of Fargo Public Health offers free HIV testing year-round. Library. All 3 library locations have mitten trees, and staff are accepting new or handmade mittens as well as hats and scarves of any size to provide a member of the community who needs them most. Donated items can also be dropped off at the main library circulation desk during regular library hours. Police. The Fargo Police Department and the MAT Bus are participating in the 15th annual Stuff the Bus. Donations will be collected at the YWCA Emergency Shelter, Red River Children's Advocacy Center, and the Police Department's Community Engagement Team. The bus will be parked at various locations December 6th and 7th and will be parked at the Police Department on December 6th from 11 to 11:45 a.m. Please consider stopping by and placing donations on the MAT Bus Holiday Bus. Other. The annual drinking water taste test was held in October at North Dakota Water and Pollution Control Conference in Grand Forks. Fargo won the award for best tasting drinking water in North Dakota in 2023, and now are eligible to compete in the National Best Tasting Water Competition in June in Anaheim. Joining us today virtually to speak on the behalf of the North Dakota American Water Works Association is Jim Kershaw, Water Plant Superintendent in Bismarck. Hi, Jim. You ready to tell us some good news?
Greetings, Mayor and Commissioners and citizens of Fargo. I'm ready to talk to you again. As you said, I'm Jim Kershaw. I'm not Santa Claus, although I may look like him a little bit. And I am the City of Bismarck's Water Plant Superintendent and the new chairman of the North Dakota section of the AWWA. The North Dakota AWWA sponsors the Best Tasting Drinking Water Award. Last year on Halloween, I appeared here and congratulated Fargo on winning that award at the 2022 conference. At that time, I said I look forward to going up against you in the other cities at the 2023 conference in Grand Forks. Well, that conference was held about 6 weeks ago, and I wanted to congratulate you for the repeat win that your water team pulled off. The other towns that made the top 3 were Valley City, who has won it many times in the past, and McVille, a town of 383 people, who won the award in 2021. I'm sorry it took so long to address you this time, but I was glad for your win, but it took me some time to get over our loss. I was a little jealous that you got the repeat win. In the past, other cities have won it more than once, but not in consecutive years. All the samples tasted good, so there might be a little luck involved in your repeat, but it is also testament that your team is making a quality product. I found out later that I voted for your sample out of the 9 or 10 samples that were there, so I helped you with the win. I'm also ashamed to admit that after Troy accepted the award and the banquet was over and pictures were being taken, I went to give my personal congratulations and something came over me, and I tried grabbing the award and running off with it. Troy locked a hold of it and a grappling match ensued for 5 or 10 minutes. Or maybe it was 5 or 10 seconds. Time just kind of stood still. Neither of us were gaining an advantage when a couple of thoughts came over me. 1, I was showing poor sportsmanship. And 2, there were more Fargo employees than there were Bismarck employees, and my staff was nowhere to be found. In the words of Ron White, I didn't know how many it would take, but I knew how many you had. Also, earlier in the day, I was introduced to a Fargo employee who they said was quite a wrestler back in the day. He would have been more than enough to turn the tide. So I let go of the award, and Troy held it over his head in triumph. We all had a good laugh. In a gesture of good sportsmanship and friendship, Troy let my director and I share in the victory by including us in a group picture. Commissioner Kolpak has all the pictures to prove this happened because I sent them to her. You know, I have met many of your water staff, and they are a very professional and hardworking group of people. They continue to use the tools that are given them to improve the quality and quantity of your drinking water. When you get the mighty Missouri River water as a source, you will really have it made. I want to give a special shout out to Maggie Saar, who works at the Water Treatment Plant Lab and is the secretary of the North Dakota American Water Works Association and does a lot of work for the group and keeps the chairman on track. Once again, congratulations, and I still look forward to going up against you in the other cities when the conference is held next year in Minot in October of 2024. No pressure, but if you win next year, I will show better sportsmanship and would be happy to appear at your meeting again. Just remember, together you are far more. I would answer any questions you guys might have. And thank you.
Jim, thank you very much. Troy Hall just came in as you started your speech, so we very much appreciate that. And I don't think he sees you as Santa Claus, so we appreciate that you gave us the challenge you have.
Can I
Any
have one
comments?
comment?
Yes.
One comment, yes, because Mr. Kershaw is being very humble right now. In addition to thanking Team Fargo and congratulating them, he walked away with a meritorious operator award for Bismarck, so they did not leave empty-handed. So congratulations, Mr. Kershaw.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Colback.
Thank you, Jim. We'll move on. Do I have a motion to approve the order agenda?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the November 13th, 2023 regular meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve consent agenda items 1 through 46?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Strand,
Yes.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Colpack,
Aye.
Preston,
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. President comments. We have one speaker tonight, Wes Filame, to speak.
Wes Filome, he, him, his pronouns. I'd like to start by saying long live George Floyd and Anue Magic and justice for Shane Netterville. I'd like to express my concern in how the data was presented for the downtown noise study at the last city commission meeting. If you recall, Steve Martin made sure during his presentation to point out that one of the loud decibel readings reflected in the study under Cowboy Jacks was not directly tied to them and most likely came from another source. He stated that it was necessary that he mention this as to not give Cowboy Jacks a bad rap. This establishes that businesses listed on the report could be viewed in negative light. If you were paying attention, you would have also noticed that District 64 was listed on the report twice. Steve also mentioned that the loud noise recorded for District could have come from the adjacent bar, which is Fort Knox. Why not list this on the report? How could any study tie inconclusive data directly to a business and still be considered credible? Especially when that data could have a negative impact on businesses worth tens of millions of dollars. Steve would also go on to suggest the idea of installing limiters on the sound systems of Fargo bars, along with permanent sound monitoring systems outside. When Commissioner Strand asked him about the First Amendment ramifications, he had no idea and claimed he had never encountered a First Amendment issue in his time doing the work. Well, let me tell you, Steve, the people of Fargo don't react kindly to government attempts at limiting us. If you all try in any way, shape, or form to install limiters on sound systems within our city, I will be right at the forefront of the fight against it. It is not who we are, and anyone who would even suggest such a thing should not be employed by our city government using our taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
We're a little ahead of schedule, so Susan, are you ready for the policy on purchasing policy manual? And then Jeremy, I'll tee you up if we're still not ready.
Good evening. I have Tamara Schmidt-Hammer with me. He's the purchasing manager for the city of Fargo. And Jill Pagel, the procurement analyst, is also in the audience. We have a few slides to show you regarding the primary changes to the purchasing policy. The first one I just want to go through is the timeline. The enter, there you go. This is the timeline in the background of this policy. I'm not going to go through everything, but I just wanted you to see how extensive the process has been. It's been a very thoroughly vetted policy. We started last fall when we hired Tanner as the purchasing manager and brought Jill on as the analyst. From last winter really till recently, they've been working very carefully with departments to identify questions. They've attended some training, looked at researched some century code. They've been working very closely with departments as they've been doing RFPs since then. And we had the draft prepared, and then they took the draft back out to some of the higher purchasing departments and kind of worked through some of the unique situations. That brings us to now. We had this through the Finance Committee last week, and we're bringing it to you. And then I think the next steps are almost as important as the previous ones. The plan is not to put this policy on the shelf. We're going to take it out, train the different departments on site. Tanner and Jill will be an ongoing resource, and then we're going to work on an intranet page to have all the resources available. So it's really to help kind of be a service towards the different departments. I'll turn it over to Tanner now to walk through the policy.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. We understand that these pillars for the objectives fall kind of on three different levels. Our city staff, our vendors, and our commission. Our staff, we've created efficiencies through tools and templates. We standardize our quote, our RFP, commission agenda item forms, along with ensuring being compliant with laws, regulations, and best practices. Our vendors, we've encouraged vendors that have traditionally not bid on our projects to attend, some of our meetings, and then we've actually seen quite a few of them start bidding on our projects. We've opened up an e-procurement site so people can do this digitally from their computers or their offices. And then for the commission, it's ensuring the stewardship of public funds, promoting fiscal transparency, and balancing department autonomy with timeless and governance oversight. Updates to our policy really stem from a couple different things. We attended the National Institute for Government Purchasing, so we learned a lot of best practices that people have been using similar to the city of Fargo here. And then we're realigning with the state of North Dakota OMB after the COVID. Some updates that we've included are clarifications of a procurement process. We've added some definitions that help people get through some processes, updating limits and approvals, new exempt purchases section, rules for specialized purchases, updating forms and templates. We've created some links to state procurement sites for potential piggyback contracts, and then becoming a resource for RFPs and invitation to bids. And then also authorized contract authority up to $100,000. As you can see here, this is our purchasing limits suggested here, the purchasing levels on the left side here, followed by the competition requirements, approval, and internal documentation required for each level. Level 1 is purchase under $10,000. This is best single discretion to obtain greatest value, approved by a division head, and internal documentation will be invoices with the division head approval. Level 2 would be $10,000 to $100,000, solicit 3 written informal quotes approved by the department head, and we would collect those quotes and issue in a reference number. And level 3 would be over $100,000. A formal procurement process would be followed, either an RFP or invitation to bid, with city commission approval, and again following the reference number on the invoice. And level 3 would be the construction projects following the century code for those public improvements, with commission approval, followed by the reference number on the invoice. Below this is special conditions that we have between piggybacks, sole sources, emergency, exempt, and then 2 departments that we would need to consult with before purchasing items through that. It would be facilities and technology, our IS team. So internal controls of purchasing, well, we've segregated the duties between purchases and invoice payment methods. We've regulated the authorized buyers within each department, so the buyers aren't reconciling their own credit card or statements. We have different, depending on the approval process, we have different levels that approve those transactions. And then financial recording or record management within the finance department here. We do weekly audits. We review all purchase methods from purchase orders to credit cards. And then the final review coming from the finance director reviewing the list of expenditures before the AP checks go out. And then the third bullet point would be educating Team Fargo. The creation, like I said before, the creation of procedures, training sessions planned within each department, and the purchasing staff within finance as an ongoing resource for these processes. With that, we will take any questions.
Any questions of the commission?
Recommendation on the board.
Mr. Preston?
So I'm not real clear. Can you give us like an overall view of what has changed? Has there been some major policy changes in there?
Can you flip back to that slide with the next one? So this, I guess there's kind of a mix in here. So in my opinion, the major changes of some of the limits. The high end limit used to be 50,000. We
Okay.
moved it up to 100 because that's
Okay.
what Century Code calls for. And also, with COVID and all the price increases, 50,000 doesn't buy what it used to, unfortunately. So we raised it to 100. We added some of the exempt purchases. Things like buying or purchasing the maintenance with the original vendor, which extends the life or is better. Some discretionary things like that.
Some other lists on those exempt purchases are like proprietary items we already have within our facilities that takes specific items to make those run. Traditionally, we've ran through those on some other different purchasing levels, and creating this exempt purchase list is really following best practice within the industry.
So going back and forth with the departments to ask some specific questions allowed us to create some of those exemptions, but at the same time address the internal control issues like we had on the last slide. We're trying to find a balance of allowing autonomy at the department, but trust but verify, as my mom always used to say.
And basically, you set up a policy so everybody understands what the rules are. In a
Right.
sense, it would be Tanner.
Yep, right, absolutely. And the old one, we've created a lot more procedures to help our internal staff work through those processes. And obviously being here as a resource for RFPs that go out every day, quotes that need to be obtained, and then also fielding those calls from our vendors and encouraging, and reaching out to new vendors that we haven't traditionally used here in the city of Fargo.
Any other questions? Commissioner Strahan?
Thank you. A couple thoughts occurred to me, questions more than anything, for my sake of understanding. Are there any changes in your change order policies and practices?
With task orders and change orders,
Yeah, so you do RFQs, RFPs, and
Yep.
bids and quotes and
then
specs and awards.
the
And then
MSAs.
there's occasional change orders. Are there any policy modifications in the recognition and presentation of change orders?
Nope, those, the limits that you have approved previously, we've stuck with that through citywide, and we've kind of streamlined that same process for every department. I know there's a couple different variances and some that didn't know where we should be at, so they were bringing maybe a little bit too much. But we've kind of made that right across the board at that level, and then those will all be coming to City Commission for approval.
Thank you. And my other question is regarding sole source bids and awards. Are there any modifications or changes, or could you help me understand how we approach a sole source situation where there aren't bids?
So sole source is truly a unique item that is only specific to that item. I know a lot before this has been rolled out have kind of ran through that at Finance Committee where they're not, we struggle with that sole source. This should rein a lot of that back in, and the approvals for sole source should really be a unique item for that specific item.
The bar will be high on
Yeah.
that. And before it even gets to you, the department head needs to bring it to Tanner, and then I also added me on there so that there's several of us that agree that it truly is, only one provider.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Kolbeck?
Yeah, just a comment and then two comments, I guess. One is I appreciated the approach here for engagement and communication with department heads throughout this process and really getting their feedback along the way for what's practical and what works. I know at the Finance Committee, there was discussion around kind of serial approval of requests under 10,000 that in the past have been a concern around controls, and I think you've spoken to some of those controls just now, so appreciate the additional information on that.
Thank you. Our new software will help with that as well. Right now, it's just a lot of manual eyes, but they're good reviewers. They keep track of things like that.
Oftentimes, the state auditor looks for glitches in different finance department. You're saying we're totally compliant with the state, so we shouldn't have any of those issues?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely?
Yep.
Thank you. Do we need to act on this to prove it?
Yes, please.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Preston?
Aye.
Colpack?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Now we'll go back to 46, public hearing, appeal the Board of Adjustment decision regarding land management permit on 338 9th Avenue South, continued from the 11/13/23 regular meeting. Scott Lindau to explain.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. 2 weeks ago, this was brought up to the commission as a public hearing, and at that point in time, it was decided to continue it for 2 weeks until we actually had the maintenance and use agreement in place with the adjacent property owner. That is included in the packet tonight. It starts on page 2. I can certainly revisit some of the information that we discussed 2 weeks ago, or if we want to just move ahead with the public hearing, whatever you'd like.
I think we'll proceed with public hearing. You received the agreement?
Yep.
Yep, okay. Do you want to explain to the public what we're talking about tonight?
Sure, I could do a quick recap.
Yep.
Chapter 1108 of the municipal code does allow vegetation to exceed 8 inches in height to allow property owners an opportunity to establish other than Kentucky bluegrass, which includes wildflowers, grasses, and other pollinator plants, as long as there's land management plan permit in place. 3 years ago, the owners at 340 9th Avenue South took it upon themselves and contracted Prairie Restorations Incorporated to establish wildflower and native grass plantings on the city-owned lot, 338 9th Avenue South. A land management plan application was mailed on June 27th, and it was approved on July 17th. Following the guide of the code, notification of this decision was mailed out. On August 8th, a written appeal was received via email and sent to the October 28th Board of Adjustment meeting to determine if staff erred in the process of issuing the land management plan. It was unanimous in support that it wasn't. Before this actually happened, there was good discussion between environmental health and public works just to make sure we were proceeding down the right path with this. On October 25th, an appeal of that Board of Adjustment decision was received by planning, and so that is where we are tonight.
Is there anyone present who wishes to speak against this?
I am one of the 10 protesters to the weed patch on 9th Avenue South.
Can you please give your name?
Maryland Sites.
Thank you.
The weed patch is in my front yard. Okay, I have several questions. Number one, why has the protests been denied to this point? And what are the reasons? It would appear to me that 10 people protesting a weed patch would carry a little more weight than one person who wants to do what he pleases with city property. I see no reason that this weed patch should be put in our front yard, even though some of you might think a weed patch is nice, and it is for 2 months out of the year. And the other months out of the year, we see dried up grass. Also, it's degraded our property. It harbors mice, rats, rabbits, squirrels, everything we try to keep away from our property. It's a mess. It has not been maintained. It wasn't maintained until there was a complaint. Then they came out and sprayed it. And when I asked the people that were spraying it what they were going to do with the 6-foot cactus, they merely cut off the top. So it has not been maintained. Again, I'm very interested in knowing why our protests have been denied. And also, even though the city says it is okay to have weed patches in the city, that doesn't mean that we, the taxpayers, have to put up with it. I'd like answers to why our protests are being denied. What I see is 9th Avenue telling the forestry what to do, which is pure political favoritism. Second of all, the forestry tells the commissioners what to do, and that's where we are now. And we people who do not want a weed patch in our front yard are not listened to, paid attention to, or given any attention.
Thank you. Scott, just for the record, the Board of Adjustment did meet on this and the protesters were heard?
The opportunity was there, yes. And the one written submission that came in was on there for discussion,
And the recommendation is to reaffirm what the permit is to for?
that the process was followed.
Okay. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak to the commission? We'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Can you put the
I don't have the motion in front of me,
Right.
but I will make it.
After reviewing all information, uphold the Board of Adjustment's decision reaffirming the Forestry Department's approval of the land management plan permit at 338 9th Avenue South, and at the close of the public hearing, act to approve the original application, basically is what it says.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Pipcorn?
So, Mr. Chair, the fact is, this is city land, and so it's somebody that's deciding to do this. It's not their property, and so I don't think this is appropriate. I think I agree with what the neighbors are saying. That's city land. Whatever you would like it to be, that's great if it's your land, but and we do have, like you said, we have an agreement for homeowners that want to do this on their own property, but I don't believe this is appropriate to be doing this on city land, especially when you have the neighbors that aren't agreeing with that. So I'll be voting no. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Hey, Commissioner Kolpak?
No, Arlette had her hand up first.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Preston?
Scott, could you just review for us where the authority for doing this came from and when it was actually incorporated? Is it an ordinance or what is it?
Yes, Chapter 11 does allow that to happen, and typically it's on somebody's property, on their own property.
Okay.
With this unique situation, the way it worked out, somebody taking upon themselves to do this on city property in this case, that's what we looked at and had some discussion on before we actually went ahead as if, okay, we can approve this per a land management plan permit and go through the process. And that's what we did.
So if I can do a follow-up question. So when was it approved for people on their own property? Has it been in place for a long time?
This particular location,
No, I'm talking about the ordinance.
oh boy,
It's been there for a long time?
8 years,
Okay,
10 years?
all right. So it's nothing new,
Right.
is what I'm trying to establish. Okay.
Commissioner Kolpak?
So I reviewed the packet. There's extensive paperwork that the city went back and forth in for a number of years. I appreciate the fact that the management and use license agreement has been buttoned up as included as part of the project. Also, as with any land permit, it's an annual inspection, including a mowing assessment and maintenance assessment as part of that agreement, correct?
That's correct. Adjacent property owner in this case has agreed to handle all the costs associated with that. We still do a regular inspection on it. Part of their side of it is to make sure that they've got a plan in place, which they do. And that includes weed control, spot mowing, spot spraying, hand weeding, and complete mowing when the time's right.
And the this maintenance and use agreement can be renewed every 3 years, correct?
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner
Well,
Pipcorn?
one more comment, Mr. Chair. So we are setting a very, very dangerous precedent. Because what happened here was some homeowners that are neighbors of this property decided to do this. Well, the precedent that we're going to set then is if you have something, if you have somewhere in your neighborhood that the city owns a property, you can do something. We can't do that. We must not approve this. If we do, this will set a precedent that will be unmanageable throughout our whole city. Imagine if we do this through a whole city. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Strand.
Scott, help me understand what would happen if there were not this approval in place in the request by neighbor to turn the property into what it is. Where would the city be at? What would they be doing with the property?
It would just be mowed on a regular basis and kept as a green space.
Was that happening?
Previously, before 3 years ago, yes.
Any other discussion? Mr. Preston.
I'll just make a point. The precedent that would be setting actually is a positive one, which is city-owned property, allowing for indigenous plants, for natural landscape, which is good for the soil and it's good for the environment. So I would say it's a good precedent.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Preston,
Aye.
Colpack,
No.
Pipcorn,
No.
Strand,
No.
Mahoney.
Aye. Item 49, expedition. Approval recommended by Planning Commission. Zoning change from general commercial to multi-dwelling. First reading of the rezone ordinance. Donald Crest to explain.
Good evening, Commissioners. Donald Kress of the Department of Planning and Development. I'll be presenting the next 4 items. 3 of these items include ordinances prepared by the City Attorney's Office. The applicant for our first item will be appearing virtually. Mr. Mayor, I just wonder if we can do a sound check here, whatever the appropriate term is. If Mr. Sheeran, can you hear us, Mr. Sheeran?
Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
we can.
Thank you. Tyler Sheeran, Vice President of the Commonwealth Development Corporation in Wisconsin. Item 49 is the Ekman addition, is a zone change. The subject property is located here, 1728 42nd Street South. Here's 17th Avenue. Here's West Acres up here, 42nd Street. As you see, an undeveloped property. The request is to change the zoning from GC General Commercial to MR3 Multi-Dwelling Residential. Here are some photos of the site. Again, it's undeveloped. It has not been developed. It was platted in 2003. It has never been developed. The current zoning is GC General Commercial. As stated, the proposed zone change is to MR3 Multi-Dwelling Residential. This property is not covered by any of our growth plans or core neighborhood plans, but it is a zone change we would support. It's adjacent to multi-dwelling. It's along an arterial, so it seems reasonable for staff to support this. Mr. Sheeran, you might want to mute the speakers. I think we're getting a little back talk here. Thank you. And so fairly straightforward zone change there. Again, the applicant, Tyler Sheeran of Commonwealth Companies, Vice President for Development, is with us tonight, may wish to address the commission. The Planning Commission's recommendation is stated in the staff report and shown on the screen. And this concludes staff's presentation. Thank you, Commissioners.
Is there anyone present or by remote who would like to speak to this motion? Anybody? In the
Yes, sir, I would. Mr. Sheeran here with Commonwealth Development.
Yes.
First and foremost, thank you, Mayor and City Commissioners, for your time here this evening. As Donald had mentioned, we are seeking your approval this evening for the rezone to MR3. We believe this is the highest and best use, just given the fact of the proximity to existing multifamily and the plethora of amenities that are in and around the mall vicinity. As Donald mentioned, this area has been undeveloped for some time, and Commonwealth is looking to come in and invest within your community and convert this into 40 apartment units slated for seniors designated age 55 plus. The amenities will be offered include a workout center, leasing office, community room, kitchenette, underground parking, and plenty more, all of which will be subject to additional approvals obtained by both city staff, commissioners, and the Plan Commission. But at this point in time, we're seeking your approval for the rezone so we can continue down the appropriate processes that are in place. And with that, I would love to address any questions or comments that you guys have.
That's fine. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak to this rezoning? We like the concept of what you're going to put there. I'm going to close public hearing. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Strand?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a intriguing conversation when people across the country are having different conversations about how to convert vacant commercial property to housing. You know, to open up our availability of housing in areas which otherwise were limited to commercial is a good move for the city to make, and I anticipate we'll probably see more of this.
Maybe so, sir.
Roll call vote, please.
Preston,
Aye.
Colpack.
Aye.
Strand,
Yes.
Pipcorn.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharon.
Item 50, Urban Plains
Thank you, guys.
Brand 7th Edition. Approval recommended Planning Commission on 10-3, zoning change to repeal and reestablish a conditional overlay. First reading of rezoning ordinance and a plat of the Urban Plains by Brant 7th Edition. Donald LaCrest as well to explain.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is the Urban Plains by Brant 7th Edition. It's outlined in the dark line here, Veterans Boulevard and 32nd Avenue South, Cedar Parkway here. Again, these properties are undeveloped. The proposal is a subdivision and a vacation of right-of-way, which we'll see where that is in a moment here, as well as a zone change, not to actually change the underlying zoning, but to consolidate some conditional overlays that have been on separate previous subdivisions of this property. So here's property, again, undeveloped since it was platted a few years ago. A couple of different views there. All right. The current zoning is LC Limited Commercial. They will see this graphic was prepared by the case planner, Brad Garcia here. There are 3 separate conditional overlays on here. And so now that this is going to be one unified project, the zone changes to repeal these and reestablish a new conditional overlay that's consistent across the entire property. And the draft of that is included in your packet. The subdivision plat shows 3 lots here, 2 small ones and a large one here. And this is all accessed through private driveways here. These are not public streets, these are private driveways. And access is protected here off of Veterans and off of 32nd by way of negative access easements, as well as onto these driveways. And so we worked with the applicant to develop this. And then in the large lot here, lot 3, we expect that to be developed more in the future. It won't probably be developed as one single large lot. Probably going to be re-subdivided here in the future, and perhaps the applicant can speak to that. With the area, the property that's being vacated, as again, this includes a vacation of public right-of-way. There were originally right-of-way retained here and here for roundabouts that would be at the intersections here. As time went on and we evaluated how we designed these intersections, we determined that those roundabouts would not be needed at these intersections, and so that the property that had been retained for that purpose could be vacated. It just becomes part of the plat. Hang on here. Okay. And then the conditional overlays are consolidation. All 3 overlays provide conditions for building and site design standards for mixed use and non-residential commercial building. These are combined into a single overlay for all the properties. Updates to the existing overlays are minimal and implementing the best practices of design and site standards. And again, the conditional overlay, as you've seen many times before, is intended primarily to encourage high quality, durable, long-lasting investments to enhance the quality of life and discourage blight. The recommended motion is stated in the staff report and shown on your screen with one minor modification. Commissioners, if you wish to recommend approval, please use the motion on the screen that has the additional requirement of contingent on final technical review of the plat, including the city engineer's signature. We had a few more modifications of the plat. We required technical modifications we didn't have time to review thoroughly before the evening's hearing here tonight. So you can go forward approving the plat if you wish, and it won't be recorded until the city engineer has put his final approval on there. The project applicant, Tim Gleason, president of Gleason Companies, is with us this evening and may wish to address the commission. That concludes staff's presentation.
Is there anyone present who wishes to comment on the zoning change? Anyone present who wishes to speak? Not, I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Preston,
Aye.
Strand,
Yes.
Kolpak,
Aye.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Public hearing, Timber Parkway, 8th edition. Approval recommended by Planning Commission on 11/7/23, zoning change to repeal and reestablish conditional overlay, and first reading of the rezoning ordinance.
Thank you, Commissioners. Items 51 and 52 are basically the same idea on two adjacent properties. Our theme tonight apparently is repealing and reestablishing conditional overlays. So just an overview here. These are the two properties here. This is Timber Parkway 8th edition, Timber Parkway 10th edition. And you see over the Timber Parkway area, there's mainly one large CO here, 5266, but these are an older conditional overlay. This property was not platted at the time that this original conditional overlay 4908 was put on there. So the proposal tonight on these properties is to just update that conditional overlay to basically match 5266. So it's the same across the board. Here's a site you've probably been by here many times. In the background here is Timber Parkway, 52nd down here. The new McDonald's is here. And then this is where Timber Parkway 8th and 10th editions will be. So that's an overview of the idea there. Staff worked with the applicant to modify some of the requirements related to building massing, facade length, and screening. The purpose of reestablishing the conditional overlay is for clarity, consistency, and cleanup. So again, making it consistent across the entire property there. Timber Parkway 8th edition, again, just applies to this property here on Charles Way. Here's the Cashwise, Sweet Shots is over here. And again, the new proposed overlay is included in your packet, an update of the old one so it matches the current ones here. View of the property there. And again, the base zoning of general commercial is not changing. It's just the conditional overlay. And Chris Mack of the Christensen Companies is with us here this evening and may wish to address the commission. That concludes staff's presentation. There's the motion is in your staff report and shown on the screen. Thank you, Commissioners.
And is this to item 51 and 52, or just as item 51?
Well, yeah, item 52 is basically the same idea on an adjacent property. So if you want me to do that one, and then we can just do them together or whatever you'd like.
Is there anyone present who wishes to speak to item 51? Anyone present who wants to speak to item 51, zoning change? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Preston,
Aye.
Kolpak,
Aye.
Strand,
Yes.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Yes. Let's put up item 52, please.
Just roll up item 52. Again, Commissioners, the same idea to repeal the existing conditional overlay and reestablish a new one to make it consistent across the property on the property of Timber Parkway 10th edition. So this is right down here across the Charles Way from the previous property, Timber Parkway 8th. Again, a view of the property. These properties are undeveloped, but as you know, that area is developing rapidly. The new McDonald's most recently is the most recent development. And again, the zoning of general commercial will not change, just the conditional overlay will be updated. And again, the motion is stated in the staff report and shown on the screen, and Mr. Mack from Christensen Companies is still available for comment if you have questions for him.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the zoning change in item 52? Anybody wishing to speak? If not, I'll close public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Be consistent, you two. Okay. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Preston,
Aye.
Kolpak.
Aye.
Strand,
Yes.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Donald. Well, we go to Jeremy Gordon to talk to us about recommendations for the city's priority projects to apply to the Federal Highway Administration funds.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Man, it seems like time just flies by. It seems like I was just up here yesterday. So I just added the amount of projects that we're looking to get funded. It's 26 total on 8 different buckets of money. So very little has changed since I was here 2 weeks ago. I'll breeze through this quickly. and you can answer any and all questions and interrupt when you'd like. So 8 projects. The number 1 is the state funded. The rest are federal aid funds. I got 2 graphics. This is north of I-94. We do a pretty good job spreading out the work citywide. So there's quite a few projects in the downtown area and on the periphery. This is the southern part of town, south of 94. The long project on the left is the signal coordination traffic adaptive project that we're thinking about. And on the southern end, it's a lot of pedestrian shared use paths. So I'll just go through these real quick. Flex Fund, we want to use the reconstruction projects we have on NP over the next 2 years, from 8th Street to Broadway and then Broadway to 4th Street. The TAP projects, these are shared use path projects primarily. There's 4 in the drains and 1 up by the water reclamation plant. So on the left side, you got Drain 27, Deer Creek Edition. That project, we are going to break into 2 different parts to smaller, I guess less than the size of the project, so it'd be more affordable through MetroCog. And then on the right side, 2 on Drain 53. One would be a low-level crossing. We've got the Drain 53, unfortunately, over the years has really divided that part of the city, so we'd like to make some connections. In 2 years, we're going to cross from Timberline to Oak Creek, basically right at the top of the screen. And the one south of 52nd would be a nice low-level crossing to tie those neighbors together. Like I mentioned, this would be broken in 2. The first priority would be along the drain, getting into the Deer Creek Edition, and the dashed one is along our water storage site. Believe it or not, there's a lot of concrete that would have to get poured on the screen. So reduction, the goal would be to reduce carbon. That came out of the last highway bill. The first 2 are the longer paths in the drains, and the last one is the traffic signal adaptive, 15 signals on 45th Street. Urban grant, this is for downtown projects. This is what we applied for earlier this year to replace the bricks inside the intersections and replace some ADA sidewalk ramps. Urban regional, these are the state routes in town, 17 to 18 miles of them in town. We've got 8 projects listed here. University, the first 3 are really our highest priorities. Surface transportation block grant. I could be using the acronyms for this. It'd make it a lot easier for me to go through this, but I'll say what they are. 3 main projects here, 2 on First Avenue North downtown and 1 17th Avenue South near West Acres. So the 2 downtown from City Hall to Roberts, and then from Roberts to 10th. And then on 17th Avenue, very near Donald's rezone there, just south on 42nd. But this is a stretch we would, the street department's been putting quite a bit of work in this, and it needs to be fully reconstructed. So the safety program, there'd be 3 projects here, 1 intersection improvement on 52nd Avenue, another intersection improvement on University Drive and 25th Avenue South, and then trying to get a little bit extra capacity on southbound 45th Street. So here's the intersection, the problem intersection on 52nd Avenue. We'd like to put in a reduced conflict U-turn. We've got 3 of these west of the interstate. We'd like to do it here. This is the safety project on 25th Avenue South. Just really making the western sidewalk more walkable. And then this auxiliary lane on 45th Street southbound, just adding a little bit of concrete to increase quite a bit of capacity through there. And the last project is a grade crossing and lights and gates at a railroad crossing on 57th Street, north of the horse park. So with that, that's 26 projects, and there's the motion.
We have a motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Looks like a lot of projects, Jeremy, a lot of money.
Yeah, we really want to have a longer project list, so in future years you'll have seen these for multiple years. There's a lot of projects that won't get funded, so you'll just see them move up the list.
Couple people had questions about Broadway Bridge. You're bringing that back to us next session?
Yeah, that was on PUPEC a week ago. There was quite a bit of discussion on that. We'd like to buy a little bit of time, 2 more weeks of time, to have any one-on-one meetings with you, Mayor, or any of the commissioners, and to fully vet the public comment we got. We sent out 7,600 postcards, plus or minus. City Hall probably got 100 of them, but with all the properties we own. But we had 1,200 to 1,300 responses, and there was a comment line at the very end that we can read through those and see what really summarize what folks had to say.
So we got good response.
Certainly, yes.
Okay, good. Any other discussion? Mr. Strand?
Thank you. Jeremy, I'm just confirming for my brain's sake, the walkway over the Second Avenue flood protection, that's gone?
That is no longer a priority.
Thank you.
Yes, call back.
I just comment, there's a lot of information, a lot of detail. We had an extensive brown bag discussion on this earlier, or presentation on this, just FYI. And then the opportunity to meet individually with engineering and others. So, we're not rushing through this amount of information.
No,
Speak
I'm glad you
myself.
explained that to the public, because Jeremy's come to us several times on this and we had several opportunities. Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Colpack?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Preston?
Aye.
Mahoney?
55, 131806 of Article 1318, Chapter 13 of the Fargo Municipal Code relating to massage therapy establishments, first reading 11/13/23. Is there a motion to waive second reading at length of the ordinance amending sections 131801, 131802, 131806 of Article 1308 of Chapter 13 of the Fargo Municipal Code relating to massage establishments?
I will definitely move.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's just for the public, this makes us not have to read this whole thing at length, but the commissioners are aware of it. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Preston?
Aye.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Colpack?
Aye.
Strand?
No.
Mahoney?
Aye. Is there a motion for the final passage and adoption of ordinance amending sections 131801, 131802, 131806 of Article 1318 of our Chapter 13 of the Fargo Municipal Code relating to massage therapy establishments? Do I have a motion?
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Preston?
Aye.
Colpack?
Aye.
Strand?
No.
Mahoney?
Aye. 56, application for property tax exemption for improvements made to buildings. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Colpack?
Aye.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Preston?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item 57, now you have my recommendations for appointments following boards and commission, Historic Preservation Commission, and the Planning Commission. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Preston?
Aye.
Colpack?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Liaison Commissioner assignment updates. John Strand just came back from the National League of Cities, found out how well Fargo was doing, and found out how things we may have to do in the future. Is that right, John?
That's correct. You know, we really have a lot going for us in our city. And I appreciate when I have an opportunity to learn what others are doing across the country. You find out we have a lot in common, actually, more than not. I'll summarize the conference I just attended into a few words: data, data, and data. In other words, technology is just really stepping up in the role of every department, every city, everywhere you look. So in fact, there's other cities where our technology officers are right at the table with everybody else, and I'm guessing we'll see more of that here. But some condensed focus points, and I'll keep this simple, but my primary focus at the League of Cities this year was housing topics, housing availability, housing access, housing affordability, and so on. And there were some themes that surfaced that are also present here and bubbling up here locally. Inclusionary housing, we need to get on it and study this and see what others are doing and quit kicking this can down the road. There's various forms of inclusionary housing and zoning where you attach the incentives to affordability, or whether you have just growth and include affordability into the growth of other projects. But that's a common theme in the country. and it's one that we need to put on the front burner. Preservation of existing housing stock is a real key important aspect of housing going forward. We have at-risk neighborhoods, at-risk parts of our town that are going through transition. Our primary goal will be to preserve existing housing stock and keep it in that affordable lane. One of the more surprising things I learned was the mention that when you demolish, it's about the least sustainable, resilient thing you can do versus building new. So when you have an opportunity to save a building, to breathe new life into an existing structure, to repurpose, reuse it, recycle it, that's the most sustainable thing you can oftentimes do. I hinted at it earlier tonight, but commercial conversions, there's a trend across the country of emptying out commercial spaces. And then there's another trend to counter that where people are opening up their approaches to those existing commercial properties and converting them to housing. And this really hasn't surfaced much here in Fargo, but it's going to be coming our way, and it's happening everywhere else. Maybe we're doing some of this already, but in the lane of trying to accelerate housing, like 0 to 5 unit type developments, you know, there's easy permitting processes that many cities are embracing, where you just go in and you get your applications, your permitting processes done in a very accelerated fashion, so that the developers and the builders are not put on hold and waiting to do a 4-plex or a 3-plex and so on. So that's something I believe we could learn from others and enhance what we're doing. Maybe one of the most questionable, controversial topics out there is single-family housing designation being eliminated. And it doesn't mean you do it in every aspect of every city, but if you can take core neighborhoods and if you want new growth without expanding out and leapfrogging out to the outer edges, you know, in many cities, they're eliminating the single-family home designations. I'm not saying we should do that, but I think we should explore this topic or see if there are parts of our city that would be appropriate. So if you want to create more affordable housing, more access, more density, you can allow what was previously a single-family home to become potentially a duplex, a triplex, a 4-plex, or add on an accessory dwelling unit type conversations to grow your housing availability in existing stock. That's a real ripe conversation. Lastly, that's on housing. I'd also like to mention one of the more intriguing breakout seminars I attended was on public safety. And for the years since George Floyd especially, but we've had more intense focus across the country on public safety, as we have here locally. In fact, we increased our millage this last year to address public safety. But some of the technologies that they're using, and I don't know, Chief, what we're using here, but I'll look forward to learning more. There's really accelerated use, and bottom line, it isn't always the fines and the impositions of citations for people when they break a crime. It's the notion that they're going to get caught that's the biggest preventative element out there. If somebody knows they're going to get caught versus maybe get caught, you know, that there's a big difference there. So you step up your technology to reduce the crime and to catch people. So, for example, drones as first responders, really an interesting concept, where the first thing that happens when you have a call to 911 is the drones are deployed. And then you imagine the implications of drones overhead everybody. They're not going to outrun you and try run away from you because the first thing you tell them is, hey, you're being watched. And that technology is just worth exploring. I don't know how much of it we're doing locally. Enhanced license plate readers. You know, if you have the ability to track people who are traveling through a jurisdiction and be able to know where they're at and see where they're at and follow them with technology, or if they go into the neighboring jurisdiction with their license plates, that's having a real profound effect on the ability to catch people. And so I'm not sure, again, how much we're doing of that, but those are two of the focal points. Last one is, and it's a company's name, but flock cameras everywhere. You know, where you have, everybody knows they're on camera. And everybody knows they're being watched by drones. And everybody knows your license plates are being tracked. But some of these technology advances are just really intriguing, and I look forward to seeing what's relevant and affordable and doable back here in our home as we're all faced on a daily basis with conversations with the people who want more safety.
And I have to interrupt the commission. I have to go back to item 55. Nancy Morris makes me aware that in order for us to waive the reading, it has to be a unanimous vote. Commissioner Strand, you voted no, so I'd like to go back and reconsider that. Otherwise, I can read this whole thing to you. So the first vote is just to waive the reading. It doesn't influence, you're going to vote no on the item.
Correct.
But if you'd be so kind, if we can have a unanimous vote on waiving the reading, then we can proceed. Otherwise, I'm forced to read it to you.
Absolutely. It's fine.
So Nancy Bestway would vote to reconsider the item 55. Do I have a motion?
I move reconsider.
Preston said yes, and Kolpak said second.
Sure.
Okay, so it's a motion to reconsider item 55. Roll call vote.
Preston,
Aye.
Kolpak,
Aye.
Strand,
Yes.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. So the first item is to waive the reading. Do I have a motion to waive the reading?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
So we don't have to do the reading, and Commissioner Strand, this has to be unanimous vote. Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Preston, Kolpak,
Aye.
Strand,
Yes.
Mahoney.
Aye. Now, the motion on the ordinance would be in present. Do I have a motion to approve the ordinance on massage parlors?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Isn't that vote already done or no? Or
Had to redo it because we didn't unanimously waive.
Right.
That's why we reconsidered the whole vote. Roll call vote then.
Preston,
Aye.
Kolpak,
Aye.
Strand,
no?
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Now we're legal. Thank you. Mr. Strand, you were done with your report?
I am. Thank you.
Commissioner Kolpak.
No reports for me tonight. Thank you.
My report is there's going to be a vote on the Fargo Dome next Tuesday. You may like it or not like it. It's just an opportunity for the public to weigh in and say what they want. Would really encourage our community to get out and vote on this issue. People have talked to me a long time about redoing the Fargo Dome, improving it, or doing something. The public has to stand up and give us their feelings and give us their vote. In the city of Fargo, the vote on any kind of tax is 60%. So if you like it or don't like it, get out and vote, and I encourage you to do that. Thank you.
Mayor, could I just ask a quick question of you or of the auditor? I went online and I couldn't quite figure out how to get an absentee ballot. Do we have to go to the city auditor's office in City Hall to get an absentee ballot? Because I didn't get it online.
Steve Sprague to explain.
While Steve's coming up, Mr. Chair, I have no updates, so that'll save a little time. Thank you.
Okay.
I got a feeling that Greg's someone from Greg's team is showing you right where to go on our website. So right where it said "Make your voice heard" on the first page, the big yellow banner. If you just click on that and then go down to where it says "Apply for an absentee ballot," 2 clicks, you're in.
Thank you.
And how long is that available, Steve?
We are processing absentee ballots on a daily basis. We're approaching 700 absentee ballots that have been sent out. We've received back getting close to 300. So, that process is continuing. If you're going to send in an absentee ballot request, get it done as quickly as you can so there's time for the mail to process your ballot. All absentee ballots have to be postmarked by Monday, December 4th. If it's postmarked December 5th or later, then it won't be counted.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Strand. And
Mr.
Steve.
Chairman, if I could ask one
Mr.
more
Preston.
follow-up question. So in other elections, we always go to the county, fill out an absentee ballot application, get the ballot right then. Can we also do that here? And then actually vote while we're standing in front
Yeah,
of
so the process is a little bit more cumbersome because we're not using the electronic information that the county has. So we have 4,100 pages or 4,700 pages of poll books. So if you came into the office, we would have to then take that application in and process it, look your name up in the poll book, sign you off, indicate that we gave you the ballot, and then you could vote the ballot and send it in. It can be done, but allow yourself 20 to 30 minutes in order for all of the steps to happen.
If in person you want it.
If you're trying to vote absentee in person, yeah.
So you can do this right up to the day before, basically.
Yes, yeah, but again, we're very busy in there, and so allow yourself some time for that process to take place. Yeah.
And just for the public, where are the 3 places you can vote?
Fargo Dome, the Civic Memorial Auditorium, and the Ramada, which is the old Doublewood at 3333 13th Avenue South. And I'll say one more time why we don't have any locations farther south. When you look at when the county runs elections, when we get farther than 13th Avenue South, we're typically in a church. And when we contacted the churches, they said it was Advent season and they didn't want to hold a polling location during Advent.
Thank you for that
And
clarification.
the hours?
7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Anybody that's a qualified voter that is in line at 7 p.m. will be allowed to vote.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Preston, you're the last.
Sure. So I was able to attend the FM Coalition to End Homelessness. It happened at a conference about 2 weeks ago. It was really good. I came away with lots of information. There was a session, a presentation by a couple of property management groups that talked about, from their perspective, how difficult it is to rent to individuals that may be difficult to place. So it was very informative. And thank you for putting this up on the screen. They give awards out every year, and our harm reduction program came away with 3 very important awards. Community Champion in Ending Homelessness was presented to the entire center. Rookie of the Year, Sydney May, who's a new employee there, fairly new, about a year, and she's the data specialist there. And then Vision and Dedication in Ending Homelessness was awarded to Chandler Esslinger. It was real obvious when I sat there and listened and watched the entire group of providers, which that's who were attending this particular conference, very much respect the individuals that we have working within our harm reduction program. So just wanted to highlight that. And then finally, the Board of Health meeting was really impressive. This last, I think we met probably about a week and a half ago. Homelessness was on the agenda item, or was on the agenda there as well. And we talked about basically moving towards, if possible, a functional 0 homelessness rate. Milwaukee, Wisconsin actually has achieved that. The staff are attempting to get the individual that ran the program in Milwaukee to Fargo here. That individual actually worked real closely with the businesses, so it was it's a good program to take a look at and perhaps replicate part of it. There was also a report on the winter warming initiative, which is up and running, as I believe, and people are using that already. And then finally, the health officer report was super interesting. It was all about the U.S., well, not all about, but one portion was about the new Surgeon General's report on the epidemic of loneliness. And this has kind of come out of COVID and some of the mental health issues, as well as there's lots of research that shows that loneliness and isolation actually leads to both physical and mental impact. So there was quite a bit of discussion around that issue, and actually vaccines, and it's still not too late to get your vaccine. So just a reminder.
Any other business for the group? We stand to adjourn. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.